Hola, everyone. Welcome to day 2. How are you? Please find your seats. We're going to get started. Please find your seats. A couple of announcements before we begin today. Most of you, I hope all of you, have this badge on your person. Inside of it, you'll find a QR code that will direct you to many different areas. There's also a safety and security form that you can fill out should you see something that you'd like to report. If you've lost an item, please use that form. We have people monitoring that. There's also local emergency number as well as ICFP assistance 24/7. So please do continue to reach out to us, give us information about what you're seeing, what you're hearing. And also, there are plenty of places in this list of links to give comments, upload photos, upload videos, and really let the world know what's happening here at ICFP. I do want to let you know that there are 2 manifestaciones, or peaceful protests, that are expected today. They're going to happen outside of the Agora. I would like you to please not engage with the protesters. We have many police and others that will be here. We had a peaceful protest on Monday, but I just wanted you all to be aware. So one is expected at 11 and the other at 5:30. So please do, if you see something, let our security team know. There are plainclothes security as well as uniformed security all around the convention center, the hotels, etc. So please don't hesitate to reach out. I will also say that there is lunch that's going to be moved from the 2nd floor to the 5th floor today. We're going to be hosting a Spark session again today, talking about our hot topics. What do people really want to talk about and to move forward to solutions through? So please join us here for lunch today and talk about your hot topics at English, French, and Spanish tables. Now I'm going to introduce, without further ado, Dr. Samu Dube of FP2030.
Good morning, everybody. Hello there, hello, hello, hello. Hello, Bogotá, hello. Hello, ICFP, hello. Where are the young people? Are they still sleeping? I know yesterday there were so many parties. I do hope people did wake up on time for this plenary. So good morning, everybody. My name is Samu Dube, and I'm the Executive Director for FP2030. Welcome to this plenary today, Wednesday, November 5. I know that you have seen, like in your linears, FP2030, and some of you may be wondering, what is FP2030? FP2030 is a global partnership that you too belong to, where we believe we can build a world where everyone, everywhere, has the power and information they need to make their own decisions about pregnancy. Isn't that fundamental and isn't that key? And thank you so much for those who come from Colombia. Hello, Colombia, hello. Hello, Latin America, hello. Thank you for hosting us in this beautiful country of Colombia, and of course, the organizers of ICFP. For all of you represented here, the governments in the room, the UN delegates who are here from UNFPA as our partners, all the commitment makers for FP2030, good morning. The delegations that have made it today, congratulations, because some of you have been looking at visas, transit, you have looking at flights, etc., so that you could come to this meeting that is critically important. I must say, it's powerful to see this community gathered again. I say community, and when I say community, think about, I am part of this community. Who should I pass what I've learned to? And who should learn from me, because I've learned over the past few years what family planning acceleration should be about. It's hopeful when we do it that way together. Also, think about who else should we include in this room as we leave Bogotá maybe tomorrow or at the end of the week. I am hopeful because for many of us, ICFP feels like coming home, a place where evidence meets energy, and where our shared commitment to family planning feels palpable even against a backdrop of remarkable pushback. They push back, but we push forward. Of course, colleagues, this year is different. The energy is here, but so is the weight of what we are facing. And when our team first began preparing for ICFP, I have to say, we're quite energized. We're looking forward to everything. We planned big gatherings, even if cautiously. The data showed compelling progress. If you go to the stand that is downstairs, the FP2030 booth, you will see the number 101 million. Those are 101 million additional users of family planning since FP2030's inception in 2012 as FP2020. Nearly 400 million users of modern contraception in the low and middle income countries where what FP2030 tracks. Well done to everyone who has made this number a reality. We knew, colleagues, that we were facing significant challenges ahead, but our data showed promise and continues to show promising news. 148 million unintended pregnancies have been averted, 128,000 lives saved, and 30 million unsafe abortions averted in just 1 year due to modern contraceptive use. That is phenomenal, and thank you for doing that. The landscape shifted. First, we saw the decimation of USAID, and many of you here do have some marks of what USAID was. You remember Daphne, his soul rest in peace. Ellen Starbett, she's still even in the community of family planning. Shaimi, who might be here today, they were leading that from the front. Thank you for your service, as they say in America. That was the world's leading funder for family planning, amongst other significant cuts. Today, we know more than 80% of donor government funding for family planning comes from countries that have now announced cuts to their international budget, 80%. And we can't avoid this reality, but it also cannot define the next chapter of our movement. Defining the next chapter of our movement is in our hearts. Defining that chapter means, Nabiha, you will wear heels and you go to the Capitol Hill and fight for the family planning budget to remain. That means, Agnes Shiranika, where you are for supplies, you will quantify and you will make sure every country in the world has got supplies that they need for family planning. Julia Bunting, I'm going to introduce you. You will reincarnate those sleepless nights to make sure no country is going to be left behind. Simon Cook, he makes sure that he avoids ICFP, but wherever he is, this is the message. MSI, I don't care where you go to Afghanistan, ensure that you are in Sudan, ensure that you turn that last smile into the first smile. Do not stop at almost, because if we do, many lives are at risk. Ladies and gentlemen, we cannot stop at almost. We are almost there. We have 1,500 days before 2030. My mother had 8 children until yesterday. My young brother, who was 25 years old, was stabbed in my home country in Zimbabwe and died. And I am doing this plenary in honor of him, because life is short. Life is short for you not to take your job seriously. Life is short for you not to do that bold decision that you ought to make. Life is short for you not to sign that document that is sitting on your desk to move the agenda of family planning forward. Life can be short if the program that you were meant to actually organize is sitting in the archives of history, not anywhere near where the people that need it. Life can be short. What is life worth living if you don't put yourself out there and stand for what you believe? What is it that you're going to stand for in your life? We are here today because millions of women want to prevent pregnancy, but they do not have the means to do so. And in this room, we sit with power. We sit with people who can make a decision. We sit with people who can make the program work. We sit with people who can make a difference, innovate, and we're not just going to be comfortable. I certainly will not stop until every woman, every girl has the means that they need to prevent unintended pregnancy. Because as you'll hear today, this movement, colleagues, is capable of incredible innovation in any environment. Soon, you'll hear from government officials who, and you'll hear from them, relentlessly, they are pursuing family planning as core to development. You will hear from abortion advocates who took to the internet to provide health care when policy environments sought to block abortion provision. You will hear from private sector. Thank you for those who put it in their balance sheets. Thank you to those who put it in their ESGs. I'm challenging you. Do not stop Organon. Do not stop Bayer. For those who are actually distributors at a country level, ensuring that every woman has access to contraception, do not stop until it is done. You will hear from people from all over the world on how they are working, even when our movement is under attack. Now, the energy of progress that we once felt feels like urgency. It's urgent that we do this better. And because this movement doesn't have the luxury of slowing down, because when women can't access contraception, it isn't just a failure of supply chains of policy. When women can't access contraception, it means her life has shifted. Maybe a young person cannot finish school. Maybe a woman turns to an unsafe abortion, or maybe a young mother quickly becomes pregnant again when she intended to wait. Colleagues and friends, these are real lives and real futures on the line, and we cannot slow down this fight. Women can't wait. Young people can't wait. The world can't wait. Let's be bold once again. Today in this session and every day, and I want you to hear, FP2030 is with you. We are not backing down. We are not going to stop until we win. We are still here and our movement is growing. Commitments are being made. People are joining the movement, even amidst these austerity measures. We have seen recent commitments from Mexico, from Vietnam, from Thailand, from Fiji, coming on board and saying we too believe in family planning. Now, I would like to introduce you to my speakers. Otherwise, I'll speak until the next sun actually rises. I want to introduce you to somebody who really has been phenomenal in moving the family planning agenda globally. Julia Bunting, who is the Director of Program Division for UNFPA. Ladies and gentlemen, let's give a round of applause. And I want to commend Julia, working with your team, Iman, who are here, Diana Keta, who is the Undersecretary, who has been newly appointed, for your unrelentless pursuit for progress. I really appreciate it. And over to you, Julia, if you could give us a speech. Thank you. Thank you.
Good morning, everyone, and thank you, Dr. Samu. Thank you in particular for your unwavering leadership, including at times of personal tragedy, the thoughts and prayers of everybody in the room and with you and your family today. Honourable Ministers, distinguished delegates, friends, colleagues, it's a great honour and privilege to be here with you all this morning. This week, we have witnessed the unbreakable spirit of the family planning community, of you. From youth-led movements to ministerial roundtables, we've seen leaders and change makers from across the world coming together to advocate and advance our mandate, to provide vision amidst uncertainty, to meet crisis with innovation, and to stand strong against the tide of pushback. It is precisely this spirit, this resolve, that will be our most valuable asset as we navigate the immense challenges that lie ahead. And indeed, we must be clear-eyed about the threats we face in our ever-changing global landscape. Across the world, we're seeing a relentless rollback of women's rights, with opposition movements reversing hard-won gains. Humanitarian crises, conflict, and climate-related disasters are cutting off essential services for those in greatest need. And right when reproductive choice is needed most, traditional development assistance is in steep decline, deepening the global funding crisis for essential supplies and services. When it comes to family planning, we also know that our global efforts are simply not keeping pace with the growing demand. Despite progress, an estimated 257 million women and girls who want to avoid pregnancy are not using a modern method of contraception. And by 2030, this number is estimated to climb to 271 million. These are sobering statistics. But even in these challenging times, I see reasons for hope. Across the world, countries are paving a new vision, a new path towards reaching universal access to family planning, one that's underpinned by sustainable financing and investment, by strong government ownership and multi-stakeholder partnerships. Let's take financing for contraceptives through the UNFPA Supplies Partnership as one example. At the last ICFP in Pattaya in Thailand in 2022, ministers joined us from across the world to sign compact agreements with UNFPA, committing to increase their domestic financing for contraceptives. At that time, we had just 8 countries that signed a compact. Now, only 3 years on, we have 44 countries who have signed compacts. And even more importantly than that, governments are turning their pledges into practice. Since 2020, government spending on contraceptives has increased 5-fold across the 54 UNFPA Supplies Partnership countries, reaching a record $52 million last year. This success is not accidental. It's the result of courageous political will. And today, we will be hearing directly from the government decision makers that are behind these remarkable trends, learning more about how they used innovative tools and partnerships to mobilize domestic resources. We'll also be learning about why governments are choosing to invest in family planning, even in times of deep fiscal constraint. Those of us in this room know that investing in family planning is not only a fundamental right, it's also the smartest investment a country can make. When women and girls have access to family planning, they're more likely to stay in school, to find employment, and to reach their full potential. These are the benefits of family planning that unfold over years and ripple across communities and through generations. We also know that protecting reproductive rights isn't separate from how we plan for the future, it is central to it. When a country's population is growing or aging, whether people are moving or staying, the answer is always the same. Uphold people's rights and choices, and you build the human capital and resilience needed for societies to thrive. Population isn't about numbers, it's about people. And when every person can realize their rights and choices, families, communities, and societies thrive. So as we begin our plenary session today, let's be clear about our task. It is time to move from promise to practice, to advance equity through action, and to make reproductive choice a reality for the millions of women and girls around the world whose futures depend not only on what we do today, but on what we do tomorrow. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Julia, for that reminder that we ought to uphold rights. And colleagues, I continue to be grateful for the partnership with UNFPA as our organizations take complementary approaches through our shared commitment to country leadership. And for those countries that have made the UNFPA commitment and signed the compact and the annex and everything that comes with it, thank you. So
From bustling cities, to remote villages, to crisis zones, every person should be able to make informed decisions about their own body and future. everyone has the right to contraceptives. Now, always, no matter what. As the largest global provider of reproductive health supplies, UNFPA helps turn this right into reality. In 2024 alone, our programs helped prevent 18 million unintended pregnancies, 39,000 maternal deaths, and 7.5 million unsafe abortions by expanding access to voluntary family planning. And something's shifting. Countries are backing this work with their own resources, investing a record 52 million in reproductive health commodities to the UNFPA Supplies Partnership. Together, we are strengthening our supply chain to reach women and girls at the last mile. Countries know what's at stake. Reproductive rights are the foundation for healthy, resilient societies and thriving economies. The future depends on choice and supplies in her hand.
Greetings again, can you hear me? I hope you enjoyed that video. We're talking about financing the future. This is the title of the session, and I'm honored to be the moderator for this esteemed panel of decision makers that are coming from the Democratic Republic of Congo, from Ethiopia, today from Zimbabwe, and let me see where we are, and Zambia. I hope we are all ready for finance. We're talking about money today. So I've got a few questions for my panelists. As you just saw in this video from UNFPA, when it comes to funding, when it comes to supplies for family planning programs, there are major stories to be told. Mainly it's stories of hope when funding becomes available, but at times it's stories of despair when we do not have commodities. Now, this is for the honorable ministers here. It's a unique moment in history that we have. As traditional funding for reproductive health and family planning retreats, it's really threatening decades of progress. And our conversation about financing the future is actually more relevant than ever. And I think for the ministers, the headache is often not just about reproductive health. It's about healthcare in general. And I want to appreciate and acknowledge that. So UNFPA and FP2030 are committed to bringing the right people together, as you have seen in some of the conversations that we have had on the sidelines, and in the right spaces to move the needle on the family planning goals. I'm about to welcome to the stage colleagues, esteemed leaders and family planning champions from countries that are really taking action to domestically finance a future of choice, equality, and prosperity. Now, to lead us off in this morning's important discussion, please join me in welcoming Her Excellency Micheline Kalama, the Minister of Gender, Family and Children from the Democratic Republic of Congo. Ladies and gentlemen, and we've got Dr. Mariamawit Asfau, who is the Executive Officer for Maternal, Child and Adolescent Health Services from the Federal Ministry of Health in Ethiopia. Dr. Mariam. Dr. Kennedy Lishimpi, who is the Permanent Secretary for Technical Services from the Ministry of Health, the Republic of Zambia. Welcome. And lastly, His Excellency Dr. Douglas Mombeshora, who is the Minister of Health and Child Care from the Republic of Zimbabwe, my country of birth. So thank you so much for joining us today, His Excellencies. Let us begin, and we know that advancing family planning is one of the smartest investments a country can make because it unlocks so much potential. You know, on the stage, we don't have Kenya specifically, but if you look in the archives of history, you will see the former president of Kenya, Mwai Kibaki, actually talking about family planning when he was then Minister of Agriculture, Minister of Finance, about why this was a smart investment, way back in 1978. I don't know whether you're all born then. But that is important. And I will start with Minister Kalama from the Democratic Republic of Congo, and please, she's going to speak in French, so if you could put your headphones on. We all are aware that DRC is a country that is turning promises into practice, because when we are talking about financing, we are talking about turning the promise that is there in family planning inherently into practice, what you see on the ground, as we discussed yesterday. Stepping up in unprecedented ways you are to expand access to family planning in the Democratic Republic of Congo. Honorable Minister, tell us more about your vision for the future as a country for family planning financing. What are you championing as a country? Thank you.
Merci beaucoup. Vous avez raison. Le gouvernement de la République démocratique du Congo, que je représente, a depuis longtemps décidé de transformer les promesses en actions concrètes, surtout les promesses faites en matière de la santé et de reproduction. En tant que ministre du genre, cette cause n'est pas pour moi un simple dossier politique de politique publique. Elle touche à l'âme même de notre engagement collectif, celui de restaurer la dignité des femmes, de protéger les filles et de donner à chaque famille le droit de choisir et de planifier son avenir. C'est pourquoi, en République démocratique du Congo, le financement de la santé sexuelle et reproductive n'est plus considéré comme une dépense, mais c'est comme un investissement stratégique, un investissement dans la vie, dans la prospérité et dans la paix sociale. C'est pourquoi le gouvernement a inscrit la planification familiale au cœur de sa vision 2030 et dans sa stratégie pour les dividendes démographiques. Et aujourd'hui, grâce au leadership éclairé de son Excellence, Monsieur le Président de la République, Félix-Antoine Tshisekedi Tshilombo, j'ai l'immense fierté d'annoncer la signature du contrat UNFPA Supplies Compact. À travers ces partenariats historiques, le gouvernement de la RDC, qui est dirigé par la première ministre Judith Suminwa, a officiellement alloué chaque année au moins 5 millions de dollars de ressources domestiques à l'achat de contraceptifs ainsi que des produits de santé maternelle et néonatale, et c'est pendant 4 ans. Cet effort traduit une volonté politique claire, assumer progressivement la responsabilité de financement de nos propres besoins essentiels en matière de santé sexuelle et de reproduction, car nous croyons profondément que la force d'une nation se mesure au respect de ses filles et sa jeunesse. Ensemble, nous souhaitons bâtir un modèle de financement solidaire et durable qui protège les droits, sauve des vies et libère les potentiels immenses des femmes et des jeunes de notre pays. Je vous remercie.
Ladies and gentlemen, that is big. A round of applause to DRC. Thank you so much, Your Excellency. For me, it is really inspiring to see the DRC's leadership and new investment in family planning as a key driver for economic growth and a strategy for achieving DRC's development goals. $5 million each year for the next over 4 years. That is an incredible, historic achievement. Thank you for your leadership in doing that. Again, colleagues, I invite you, partner with DRC in these pursuits. And I think I'm going to be speaking to some of you for specific programs that they've said they want to initiate. Please partner with them even after this meeting. Now, I would like to focus on Ethiopia. Dr. Mariamawit, just 3 years ago at this very conference, Ethiopia was among the first 8 countries to sign a compact at UNFPA's Ministerial Roundtable on Sustainable Financing for Reproductive Health Commodities. I think that was led by the DNA then, and so this is very historic and very important. And not the photo of the Honorable Minister Tiguma, who actually has, that was him. So there is evidence that this happened some time ago. Since that moment, Ethiopia has made remarkable progress towards domestic resource mobilization. Thank you so much for your leadership there. Could you share what this journey for you has looked like for your country, and perhaps give us a sense of what concrete results this commitment is now delivering for women and children across the country? You heard the minister from DRC talking about the demographic dividend, why they are doing this. What has this done also for your country? Please share us the journey.
Thank you for that wonderful question. It's a real pleasure to be sitting here and addressing this plenary. As you've seen, His Excellency Dr. Daraja Duguma was here 3 years back, and he was actually supposed to be here, and I'm delegating for him. It shows that commitments that have been made in boardrooms and in meetings like this have actually been translated into action. Because since that agreement 3 years back in 2022, we've made significant progress in making sure that we mobilize adequate resources to secure the family planning commodities. In 2019, there were so many problems that had occurred because of the global pandemic that was COVID-19. And not just that, but in 2000, we only had around 600,000 women requesting for family planning. And then that rose to more than 40 million in 2019. So you can, I believe if everyone here would understand what it takes to make sure we fulfill that requirement and make sure that we get the modern contraceptives available for the community. This UNFPA Supplies Fund agreement was a start, but then it wasn't enough for us to say, okay, this is something that we've gotten, and we have to stop there. We made sure that the additional funding gap is filled through multi-donor compacts, which was developed soon after the signing that was made with UNFPA. And that agreement was made with Gates Foundation, with USAID, Packard Foundation, and Anonymous Donor. I would like to say thank you for stepping in when the country was at the worst place in time to make sure that we make family planning products available. So thank you so much for all the support that has been done. And thank you again, because that learning has now grown to make sure that we not only have a family planning compact, but that has been increased to make sure that we have funding for maternal, child, and adolescent health services. Because it's not just important to say we have exempted services, but we need to make sure that the commodities and supplies are available for that. This multi-donor compact is supposed to be like a one-on-one matching, where the government puts on $1 for $1 matching from the different donors that are going to support this. And it's a huge investment. The country is almost about to finalize this agreement, and I'm sure it's going to be announced worldwide in the next few weeks once everything is finalized. But I believe it's a huge move the country has made to make sure that we don't leave anyone behind, and we have strategic planning, and donors are supporting the government's priorities. But this is not the only thing that came out from this learning. Because of the move Ethiopia has made, it's now like we got an additional $2 million funding for contraceptives and life-saving maternal commodities that have been awarded by UNFPA. So again, I would like to say thank you for all the supports that have been provided and that you're continuing to provide. Saying this, I'd like to say thank you to the panel again, and thank you for showing Ethiopia's voice to the world. Thank you.
A round of applause to Ethiopia, and thank you for sharing your journey with us. What I'm seeing here, ladies and gentlemen, is a journey where government actually is leading from the front and partners come to support. But I'm also seeing how you are using your own resources so that others can match. I'm seeing funding that becomes catalytic so that it can achieve more. But more importantly is government leading from the front. Really, we appreciate that leadership. Thank you. Let's turn to Zambia, my neighbor in Zambia there. And you have actually turned promises into practice. Thank you, really, for your leadership as a country, where you are investing more in contraceptives this year, more than ever before. Well done. Thank you for that. Tell us, why is family planning such an important investment for Zambia? And what is your vision for the future of contraceptive financing?
Thank you very much for having Zambia on this panel. And indeed, in Zambia, we have moved beyond viewing family planning as a mere health cost. We recognize it for what it truly is, the single most strategic investment in our nation's human capital. When our families are empowered to choose the size and spacing of their children, we immediately unlock profound economic benefits and empower women to fully participate in the socio-economic affairs of our country. We see a reduction in maternal and neonatal mortalities, including infant mortality. Children who are better nourished and perform better in school, and a workforce that is healthier and more productive because of the investment in family planning. Investing in contraception is investing in the foundation of our economic prosperity and the realization of our Vision 2030 of making Zambia a middle-income country by 2030. We know that policy without resources is just a promise, and the moment for decisive financial action is now. Today, we take a historic step forward in cementing Zambia's commitment to sustainable health financing. It is my profound honor to introduce a leader who has driven this agenda with unwavering resolve and vision, a leader who has personally ensured that our domestic resources match the scale of our national ambition. Please join me in welcoming virtually the Honorable Minister of Health of Zambia, Dr. Elijah Mchima, who joins us via video to announce a major, long-awaited commitment on domestic contraceptive financing, one that will define the next phase of reproductive health access across the country. Please welcome Dr. Mchima.
Your Excellencies, fellow Ministers of Health, the Executive Director, UNFPA, partners and friends. It's a great pleasure, though virtually, to join you at this year's International Conference for Family Planning. The Government of the Republic of Zambia reaffirms its commitment to the attainment of Sustainable Development Goals targets, including universal health coverage by using the primary health care approach. The current government of His Excellency, the President of the Republic of Zambia, Mr. Hakainde Hichilema, has noted the importance of family planning in harnessing demographic dividends and, as a result, prioritizes domestic resource mobilization for the family planning program. Financial allocation of procurement of reproductive health commodities and medicines, including family planning, has increased from the 130,000 United States dollars in 2021, when this government took over leadership, to 4.5 million United States dollars in 2025. And this figure will increase to approximately 7.5 million United States dollars in 2026. In addition, the government of Zambia signed the compact agreement with the UNFPA in 2023, which has been a landmark agreement in ensuring commodity security for family planning. Between 2023 and 2025, the government of the Republic of Zambia dispersed 11.5 million United States dollars through UNFPA's third-party procurement mechanism. All commodities procured in 2023 and 2024 were successfully delivered through our Zambia Medicine and Medical Supplies Agency, here called ZAMSA. Zambia's experience demonstrates that a country-led financing model anchored on accountability and digital transparency can significantly reduce reliance on external support, promote system resilience, and sustain family planning outcomes. In closing, I thank you once again for this opportunity, and I wish you fruitful deliberations at this important conference. Thank you.
Thank you very much. And we in Zambia believe that every pregnancy must be wanted. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Dr. Lishimpi, and to your minister for this leadership, enthusiasm, and commitment to family planning. Really appreciate your leadership. Did you hear the numbers, or you are looking elsewhere? It was from $130,000 in 2021 to $7.5 million in 2026. That is an increase of over 5,000% if you know your math. But anyway, these numbers seem to be small, and it's a good segue to my next question for the Minister of Health from Zimbabwe. Honorable Minister Mombeshora, in recent years, we have seen Zimbabwe really increase its investment in reproductive health commodities, but also in domestic resource mobilization for health. Tell us more about how innovative partnerships such as the UNFPA Supplies Compact, the Match Fund, and maybe even some of the initiatives that you are doing in country, how have those helped to accelerate this shift towards domestic financing?
Thank you very much, Dr. Dube. I think historically, Zimbabwe has received external funding from donors, almost reaching 39% of the health resources needs for the country. But in the recent years, we have seen donor fatigue or decreased funding from our external partners. We still value these partnerships, and we feel there is a role of funding from external partners. But realizing the gap that is created by reduced funding from the donors, Zimbabwe took some steps to take corrective measures so that we are not caught unaware. Currently, Zimbabwe has a dedicated budget for procurement of contraceptives in the national budget, and this was introduced in 2021. In 2023, Zimbabwe signed a compact of commitment with UNFPA, which saw Zimbabwe becoming the first country in the East and Southern African region to receive match funding for contraceptives under the UNFPA supplies program after procuring $1.5 million worth of contraceptives using domestic funding. To date, the government has procured $6.3 million worth of contraceptives using domestic financing, up from zero in 2022. The compact has proven to be an invaluable leverage mechanism for domestic resources mobilization. Commitments in Zimbabwe, with Zimbabwe in turn getting $5 million in match funding from UNFPA, which is very, very commendable. Zimbabwe remains committed to sustainable financing through strengthened domestic investments to ensure that life-saving commodities and services are available, especially to vulnerable women and girls. The Ministry of Health and Child Care in Zimbabwe and Zimbabwe National Family Planning Council, with support from UNFPA, have developed and just launched the contraceptives cost recovery framework. This is expected to raise an extra $2 million annually to be invested in the procurement of contraceptives and strengthening family planning services. Zimbabwe is also working on a national health insurance scheme, which we intend to formally launch by mid next year. Finally, Zimbabwe has introduced earmarked taxes and health levy that are expected to significantly contribute to funding for sexual and reproductive health services, including family planning. Let me also at this stage say Zimbabwe has made some commitments. Zimbabwe signed a compact of commitment with UNFPA in 2023. Under the compact, the government of Zimbabwe committed to contribute to procurement of contraceptives using domestic resources. Zimbabwe has procured 6.3 million worth of these contraceptives with government resources from 2022 to 2025. And additionally, the government pledges an additional 2.25 million yearly for the procurement of contraceptives in 2026 and 2027 respectively, in line with the compact agreement. I thank you.
Thank you, Your Excellency. Thank you so much. Those numbers, they keep coming, right? Colleagues, we are making history. I think it's becoming clear that domestic commitment and financing for family planning is the future. And we are talking about financing the future, right? It's about that investment in products, so that because we know no products, no program. If you don't finance commodities, you will not have a family planning program. A round of applause to my panelists here, ladies and gentlemen, because I know fully well that we are making history. Now, with ODA declining, with countries responding with bold commitments of their own, in other words, they are having skin in the game. It takes two to tango. If you come and play, the community actually comes to also play with you. So thank you so much for your leadership. But I think, colleagues, countries need support. They do need your support. As they make these fundamental shifts on how they look at financing, international partnerships are indispensable. Donor government and private sector investments multiply every national commitment. We are seeing how even our philanthropic partners are looking at catalytic investments going forward, building sustainable systems and helping countries bridge financing gaps as they tackle urgent evolving challenges. I want to make a commitment, Honorable Minister, for Zimbabwe. Even as somebody who is staying in the diaspora, if you put good mechanisms on how my money can be spent, I opt in for remittances to fund family planning. There are many other innovations that we can come across. Ethiopia, I know there are many innovations that we are looking at for diaspora remittances to fund healthcare in your countries. So I know we are stronger together and innovation is in the horizon to tackle these evolving challenges. So, a country-led approach strategically enabled by innovative cost-sharing mechanisms like the UNFPA supplies partnership, colleagues, and strong advocacy initiatives like FP2030 are the best way for all of us to protect progress and reach millions of women in the long term. I'm going to close shortly, but it's my deepest thanks to all of you for your leadership and for your partnership. Please let us once again thank the ministers from DRC, the representatives from Ethiopia, Dr. Lishimpi from Zambia, and Honorable Minister from Zimbabwe for their commitment and their leadership that they have shown today. They are making it clear, colleagues, that nationally financed systems for family planning are not just a distant aspiration. They are building, they are being built right now in our very eyes. I hope you feel as inspired as I am. Even amidst what I am personally going through, I have inspiration. I've been inspired by the language that countries can take leadership and ownership of their own human development. I am energized because I know fully well that if we are bold, in a manner that they too are bold, where countries are meeting this moment with increased commitment to safeguard rights, we will win together. A brighter future is made possible by family planning. Let's hear from a few of those new champions as our audience leaves the stage from the made possible videos that actually are putting across. Before that, we need a photo. I hear we need a photo moment.
What is at stake when we cannot control our lives?
As a young single mother in Nigeria, I understand that I am privileged to have access to family planning. Without this, it would have been financially strenuous for me as a young single mother.
Family planning isn't just about having kids, it's about planning for your future and deciding when and how you want to live your life.
At 25, I am deeply immersed in my passions: singing, acting, content creating.
My journey was made possible because I had the power to choose my timeline.
I'm a business owner and a mother of 2 beautiful boys. Having the access as to when we wanted to have children helped us ensure opportunity and possibilities.
I've always had a desire to have a child, but also always had a desire to have the career that I've always dreamed of. And I knew that if I planned things accordingly, I could have all of those things.
There are many things we can't control. Through planning, I'm able to do all the things I need to do for my family.
These stories aren't rare. They reflect what's possible when family planning is prioritized and accessible.
When women have access to family planning, they can pursue education, careers, and entrepreneurship, strengthening economies. The ripple effects last for generations.
It means that women can invest in their family's well-being, young girls can stay in school, and industries can benefit from the contributions of more empowered women.
Planning your life shouldn't be a privilege, but for too many, it still is. Funding for family planning is under attack. Rights are being rolled back. Progress is at risk.
Family planning should be a basic right accessible to all.
At a time when family planning is under threat, the urgency to act has never been greater.
No one should be denied the ability to safely plan their future.
Let's make that possible for everyone.
Share your story today.
Raise your voice.
Amplify the message.
And let the world know how important it is to have access to family planning.
Stand with us. A brighter future for all, made possible by family planning.
Awesome. A future made possible by family planning. Good morning, all of you, and a very warm welcome once again to this plenary. I'm so glad that you chose to be with us today. My name is Mercy Juma, and I am so privileged to moderate the next 2 sessions. Very short, but trust me, they are going to be very sweet. Yes. Now, over the last couple of days and through countless of sessions, I think one thing stands true. The fact that a brighter future for all of us, for our nations, for our people, is only possible through family planning. Right? Right? Good. But listen, guys, we can also not run away from the fact that outside this convening, outside this room, there are millions of people who, for them, family planning is just not on their radar. You know? They don't see, they are not aware that there are hundreds of millions of women who cannot access their choice of modern contraception. They are not aware that there are prohibitive policies and, there are, practices that really hinder young people and married people from access to contraception and family planning. And for the next 10 minutes or so, I am having a superpower, an all-female panel here to just look into that and see what can we do? What can we change? How do we stop talking to ourselves in here? Who do we need to bring on board? So, with all pleasure, please allow me to welcome Aparajita Ramakrishnan, who leads the family planning team for the Gates Foundation. Lovely to have you on stage. And Noha Salem, who's the Global Women's Health Policy Lead at Organon. We are so grateful for your leadership, for your friendship, and for being here. And you look lovely. All right, great. I'll start with you, Noha. What do you see as the biggest misperception, right, of reproductive health, and what do you think organizations should be doing differently to combat that?
Thank you, Mercy, and hi, everybody. It's wonderful to be here. What an honor. Thank you so much for this opportunity. So I think before we talk about that, I think just a bit of context. Organon was actually born at the heart of the pandemic, which we know disproportionately impacted women and girls, and I would say brought to the forefront how we are disproportionately impacted in times of crises. So a lot of the issues really that remain today still to be true from what we've learned previously, that typically when you think about reproductive health, it's seen as an individual issue, it's seen as a woman's issue, and kind of siloed. But in fact, it is much broader than that. It affects us, it affects our families, it affects our societies. And so from the very beginning, we had to challenge ourselves to think about how we reframe women's health and how we as private sector wanted to show up in this space. So if we talk about kind of our health, our family planning family, we all know that the investment case for women's health is really compelling. The data tells the story. We need to engage with different stakeholders, those who are making those decisions, to bring them on board, to really understand that this really concerns us all. This is an equity issue, this is a development issue, and this is a way for us to achieve economic development. So that's something we need to, especially in the times we're in, continue to challenge ourselves to have those conversations outside of our circles to bring more people on board and drive action.
Thank you very much. Continue to challenge ourselves, bring more people on board. Aparajita, what do you think is at the heart of this whole misalignment that we keep talking about, where we see, despite family planning touching on all aspects of society, we just seem not to get everyone on board? Why?
I think first I would just say thank you for having me at this panel, and these past few days have just been incredible to see the energy of the people in this room and at this conference at a time when things are not easy for so many people on the ground, but also many folks working in NGOs and the sector which are facing tremendous pressures. So I just want to say it's a real pleasure to be surrounded by such energy in spite of all the headwinds. And that's just a testament to me of this FP community, how very, I was going to say another word, very resilient this community is. So I just want to first say thank you for that. So I also want to just, I guess, respond to you and say, I don't know if it's not universally misaligned. So we are seeing huge signs here, the panel before, where the political leadership finds the right case to make to their finance ministers. I feel like that's success, right? There's a case to be made for governments to be able to prioritize family planning. The question is what case that is. And for some people, numbers work. So $1 yields $26 of socioeconomic return. So for every dollar you invest in family planning, that's a huge return in terms of social outcomes and economic outcomes. So that might work to convince someone. Or the fact that 44% of percentage contribution to maternal mortality reduction through family planning, if the governments care about health and crushing maternal mortality. Then you have the fact that women are more likely to enter the labor force if actually empowered with family planning. In some cases, we've seen in Eastern Africa, that can be as much as 20% more likely for a woman to enter the labor force if she's on modern contraception. So there are many numbers that might convince or compel people to act on family planning, and maybe we need to look at the audience and segment who our decision makers are and see what will resonate. And I know many of you are doing this for a living, so I'm just simply playing back. I would say the second.
So what is the return of an investment, right?
Wise return on investment, or it's simply, it's not a health issue, it's a life issue.
Oh, great.
It's a rights issue. So that's the other side of the argument.
I think that's a very nice way to put it. But Noha, when we look at, because so many people have talked about the potential of partnerships, and partnership is a very big word in this conference, private sector innovation. What are some of the exciting things that you are seeing right now that maybe we could borrow from or implement?
Yeah, I think, in times of crises and challenges, I think there are always opportunities. It's been obviously a very disruptive year, and it's really pushing us to think outside of the box. And, as a member of the private sector, obviously think as business as unusual. So I'm really excited around some of the partnerships in support of achieving a total market approach. How do we really bring in the private sector as a segment while protecting equity? And I think that is really, really interesting, and being able to really model that out. From a private sector perspective, we need to figure out, what does that mean in the terms of commercial agreements, for example? How would that work? How do you construct an ecosystem that allows that to work? How do you also ensure that the public and the private serve the right people? So I'm really excited around also some of the, I would say, companies or new partners that are emerging to solve for these very challenges, right? We call, it's an interesting approach of for purpose companies that are looking to be sustainable but deliver impact. So I'm really excited about the opportunities there to showcase that this can actually work. We can move towards a sustainable, viable, total market approach that protects equity and serves women and girls.
Great, thank you. And I'm looking at the clock, and I know we have to wrap this up. Like I said, it's going to be short and sweet. But Aparajita, before we do this, I'm a storyteller. I love stories. I know the power of storytelling and what it can do in terms of advocacy. But what other things do you think we can borrow from, say, media, from other storytellers, from creatives to really change the narrative and direction of our conversation around family planning and reproductive health?
I think partnership is a way, and I think maybe different kinds of partnerships, and some of the things we're exploring now with many of you in the room and some not in the room, is looking at how we can align the interests of many consumers of products that we see along with the actual interest in the issue of family planning. So we're exploring interesting things with Worthy, for instance, that ran the Project Red campaign, to see how do we engage the private sector in a more creative way, to your point, Noah. And I think the idea being, it's really is, at this time, all ideas are on the table, and all partnerships, no matter how unusual and frankly weird, we need to actually forge. We're going to do it, and we're going to try until we fail.
Now, to the both of you, I know probably this is not your normal day-to-day gathering, right? But just being here, interacting with all the wonderful people in community seated here, what is one thing you're taking away or borrowing? And I know this was not, I did not give you a heads up for this, but what are you taking away that you are also going to app from this community? Noha.
So I'll say, we will never stop. I heard Samuel say, we will never stop. We will keep moving.
Yes.
It's all about action. Let's roll up our sleeves and figure this out. We will learn, we will make mistakes, and that's okay, but as long as we keep moving forward.
Thank you, Aparajita.
I think the innovation is just getting the job done. So let's get the job done.
Great, thank you very much. And I think you echo what Dr. Samu said really well, that we cannot afford to stop now, because I mean, the needs, the wants, the desires of the women, the girls, the unmarried people, the people who really need contraception, family planning, reproductive health, it's not going to pause when we pause. So we just need to keep fighting and keep moving. Thank you, but Somath, I know we can talk about this on. And like Dr. Samuel also said, until the sun comes up, and even when it goes down, we'll still have this conversation. But thank you so much for joining me, and I really, really appreciate your insights. A round of applause for the ladies. Thank you so much. I know there's a video that is supposed to come up. Yes, Dr. Samuel, welcome on stage.
Thank you so much, Mercy. Right now, my task is very short, to introduce a video from the Right Honorable Baroness Chapman of Darlington, who is the Minister of State for Development and Africa at the Foreign Commonwealth and Development Office, otherwise known as FCDO of the United Kingdom. So before you press play for that video, I wanted to just acknowledge something. The UK government was there from the beginning. I don't know who is from the UK here. You were there from the beginning. And my encouragement is that you too should not stop at almost. That's my encouragement. Please, let's introduce the video from the Right Honorable.
Thank you to Colombia for hosting this important conference. I'm pleased to share the United Kingdom's view in 3 points of action. The shocking truth is that 45% of abortions are unsafe. Most happen in countries where women can't access contraception. And complications from pregnancy and childbirth are still the leading cause of death for around 12 million girls. This shames us all, not least because so much is preventable. Sadly now, hard-won rights and services are under attack. So one, we must not lose sight of what we can achieve. Maternal mortality rates down by almost 60% in 40 years. 200 million more people using modern family planning in 20 years. Families, communities and economies strengthened by the work of the WHO, UNFPA and our partners on the ground. And two, we must recognise that this important work cannot wait. This is why last year our Prime Minister announced a further £37 million to advance rights and improve access to services, including safe abortion. That is why the UK's Special Envoy is dedicated to this. And that is why our Foreign Secretary made it clear at the UN General Assembly that this is a priority for us. And that is why today I'm proud that the UK is making FP2030 commitments to help women and girls make choices that are right for them and help countries strengthen their health systems. That includes a commitment to expand access to contraceptives, abortion products, and maternal and newborn health products, to give millions of women agency over their bodies and their lives, prevent unintended pregnancies and maternal deaths. We'll support partner governments to step up their own financing, including through match funding and to introduce new and critical products and medicines. And lastly, we must stick together, helping women speak up and holding the line that some decisions are ours to make. As a She Decides champion, that's my mission, and I look forward to working with all of you to make sure everyone has power over their own bodies. Thank you.
Thank you very much. And again, FCDO, thank you so much for your partnership. Now we move from global commitments and we head to the grassroots. And for this next panel, I am joined by people who live, work, eat, this work. We are so honored to have you. I have Cromwell Cruz, an expert in activism and gamification, and then Glee Torrealba, an LGBTQ. Yay! Oh, Glee, you have fans here. You have fans. And then we have Susan Sabano, a disability rights advocate from Uganda, and Venu Aliasura, who is the executive director of Women on Web. thank you all so much for being here this morning. And just to note that this panel will also be in Spanish, so please use your translation devices and grab one if you don't have it already. Cromwell, I'll start with you. Listen, I am so inspired by the work you do, by your advocacy, and how you use art and games to just shift public perception, to communicate, to influence policy. Just tell me, how have you used creative expression to make family planning and bodily autonomy less stigmatized and, I would say, more accessible?
Yeah, so my advocacy is rooted in the belief that creativity is the best tool for dismantling stigma. When you talk about family planning and bodily autonomy through the lens of political terms, sciences, and data, we possibly create barriers of understanding that people don't get. So because of that, my work uses the arts and artivism and gamification to break those barriers. One powerful example was our HIV prevention project, where we use our advocacy became Amazing Race style game. I hope people here have heard of the Amazing Race. Good show, where we capacity built 30 youth leaders where they competed to educate people and to mobilize communities. And the challenge was so simple: make it fun and make it action-oriented. Tasks included speed races and packing condoms and info kits and volume races of reaching the community, where a total of 300 people were peer educated, 189 of which were inspired to take their HIV test for the first time, and one yielded positive. And I would like to believe that we saved that one person's life just because we were playing a game.
Mm-hmm. So basically, make it relatable, yeah? Make it fun, make it relatable, right?
Exactly. That proves that gamification can actually directly lead to health-seeking behavior.
All right, are you seeing this being implemented elsewhere? Like, are people copying you? Is it spreading as fast and as much as you would love it to?
I think I've seen some works by UN where they have this gamified learning project, but I don't believe that it's being used enough. We do see that the young people are getting more engaged, more informed, and their education usually comes from EICs, but I think gamification really triggers different parts of their brain, activates different learning systems, and that makes their learning more intimate.
Great, thank you, Cromwell. I'll move next to you, Gley, because I really want us to tap into every person's forte here. And you know, Gley, the LGBTQ communities are, I would say, under attack, acute attack globally. How can this movement, the family planning movement, include them without, and this is very important, without putting them at further risk?
Bueno, muchísimas gracias. Estoy muy feliz de estar acá. Creo que es importante que las personas LGBT estemos en el centro de estas conversaciones, ¿no? Y ciertamente sí, estamos siendo víctimas de ataques como comunidad. Y mira, hay una forma fácil de hacerlo. Creo que es que hacerlo desde el cuidado y no desde la exposición. Y una buena forma de hacerlo sería trabajar con nosotras, con las organizaciones que trabajan en las comunidades, en las organizaciones locales, ¿no? Y esto ayudaría también, creo que muchísimo, el que cuando trabajemos con estas comunidades, poder reconocer cuáles son los contextos en los que habitamos, ¿sí? Estos contextos de discriminación, de criminalización, porque en muchos países ser nosotros mismos, ser nuestras vidas, es un crimen, ¿no? Entonces, creo que eso es algo importante, pero el temor de exponernos no puede detenernos en la acción. hay que seguir moviéndose, hay que replantearnos también la palabra inclusión, porque inclusión no es solamente poner una foto de una persona trans o hacer los formularios y que diga, puedas elegir tu identidad de género, tu expresión de género, sino que realmente se garantice una atención digna y segura para todas las personas, incluyéndonos a nosotros, y sobre todo que se creen protocolos que protejan nuestras identidades, que no solo sea que quede en el aire, ¿no? Como en esta cosa bonita. Así que yo creo que, para concluir, porque sé que tengo un minuto, incluirnos no nos pone en riesgo. Creo que incluirnos que el movimiento de planificación familiar nos incluya, no nos pone en riesgo, sino que nos humaniza y nos pone en la palestra. Gracias.
Ooh. Thank you very much. Humanizing you, bringing you to the front. I think that is very, very important to put across. And I think those two words, humanizing you, bringing you to the front, and one thing that you say when you started about discrimination and the aspect of inclusion would resonate very well with Susan next to you, who is a disability proponent and really, really pushes for the rights and, you know, the visibility of people living with disability. Susan, how do we move beyond, I would say, token consultation to real leadership for people with disabilities and by people with disabilities?
Thank you so much for the good question. I could say it is crucial to recognize that those who experience inequality, including persons with disabilities, should not just be consulted. They must be in leadership positions leading the agenda. This can be achieved by creating spaces where persons with disabilities are empowered to lead the conversation. For instance, we can establish advisory boards made by entirely of individuals impacted by these issues, including youth and people living with disabilities. By equipping them with resources and leadership trainings, we can enable them to champion their own causes effectively. It's about shifting the power dynamics and ensuring those with the lived experiences at the forefront of the narrative, driving policy changes that truly reflect their needs. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Susan. You know, all the three of you, Susan, Glee, Cromwell, you speak about visibility. You speak about the importance of shifting power dynamics, the importance of putting your work and the people that you represent at the forefront. Glee, the internet and the power of the internet is very central to this, right? How do we tap into that in this space of family planning and reproductive health?
For me, Benny. Internet has been absolutely transformative in delivering abortion care and other sexual and reproductive health services. It's really enabled us to provide care regardless of restrictions, regardless of law, regardless of your postal code, and really provide care in places where there wouldn't be otherwise access to abortions at all. And I think it's not only that, it's enabled us to provide better care, higher quality care, care that's really responding to the needs and cultures and the values of our care seekers. So I think that's the first lesson. Many people prefer to receive care like this via the internet. And we know, especially for the youth, internet has become like the main source of information for sexual and reproductive health care. And I think the second lesson that we can learn is, again, around power. Internet has democratized access to medical care and medical information, and therefore it's equalizing care. People are autonomously going online, they're finding pills, they're finding instructions on how to use them, and then they safely self-manage their own abortions at home. So ultimately what internet has done, it's enabled us to challenge traditional health hierarchies. It's demedicalizing, it's helping us to demedicalize care and abortion care and really shift power from doctors and institutionalized medical systems to people whose bodies and lives are actually being impacted.
Great, thank you very much. And now let's talk about alliances, you know, across movement, because like I said, you all represent very different factions, right? So how do we build those alliances? And I'll start with you, Cromwell. What have you learned about, you know, the alliances between movements from the LGBTQ rights, from disability rights, gender justice, abortion rights, and advancing reproductive freedom for all? What have you learned about those alliances?
Well, this easily reminds me of a quote. Well, I don't know who to attribute it to, but it goes something like, if you want to go fast, go alone. If you want to go far, go together. The core lesson that I've learned about building alliances is that reproductive freedom is not a single issue. It's an intersectional outcome. You can't achieve it without working across movements. And the key is finding that shared point of vulnerability. Alliances with queer rights, disability rights, indigenous rights, and gender justice communities are essential because what unites us is the fundamental experience of having our bodily autonomy threatened by systems of power. Whether it's the threat of forced sterilization for people with disabilities, the denial of gender-affirming care, or the criminalization of abortion, the threat is the same, and it's that there is a denial of the right to choose our life's paths. So by leading with a message of universal human dignity and bodily autonomy, and by making our advocacy materials also accessible for everyone, we create resonance through arts and media. We can build a broader and more resilient coalition.
Thank you, Cromwell. And you know, when you talk about inclusivity and just recognizing all this as human rights, you know, Glee, there are some people that see the rights of LGBTQ people as separate from the family planning movement, right? And they don't want to, quote, unquote, take the risk of supporting LGBTQ identities in their advocacy. What is your feeling about this?
Bueno, obviamente pienso totalmente diferente de esto. A ver, los derechos sexuales y reproductivos son derechos humanos, ¿no? ¿Cierto? Y las personas LGBT somos humanos, no somos otra cosa. Así que nadie tiene el derecho de decir quién sí y quién no puede acceder a ellos, ¿no? Creo que es sumamente importante que nos repensemos esto de los derechos sexuales y reproductivos. Son ¿para quién? ¿Para qué? ¿Para quién? ¿Y en dónde? ¿No? Porque a veces, dependiendo de donde habitamos, no es accesible. Así que, un ejemplo claro, yo soy una mujer lesbiana y, por ejemplo, si necesito acceder a información o sobre métodos anticonceptivos, y muchas veces esa información no la está, ni en las escuelas, ni en algunas clínicas, hospitales. Muchas veces más bien somos violentadas. Yo particularmente fui violentada por una ginecóloga, ¿no? Y es fuerte porque soy una activista. Imagínate qué queda para las demás personas. Así que yo creo que negar la realidad de nuestra existencia no nos hace que ser neutrales, ¿no? Nos hace cómplices de esa discriminación. Y es sumamente importante que el movimiento de la planificación familiar pueda hablar, que al hablar de esto, de autonomía, lo haga sin miedo a nombrar la diversidad, porque somos parte de la ciudadanía, cumplimos con nuestros deberes, con nuestros derechos. Así que, así como cumplimos con esos deberes, necesitamos acceder a esos derechos. Porque, como bien lo dice la Carta Magna de las Naciones Unidas, nacemos libres e iguales, ¿sí? No hay derechos para unos y no derechos para otros. Así que, para cerrar, creo que la justicia reproductiva no está completa si no es diversa. Gracias.
Oh, thank you. Reproductive health justice is not complete if it's not diverse. And you said SRHR for who and for what? Susan, I'll ask you the same question very briefly. Movements for disability rights and other movements, like gender equality, they are oftenly treated as separate. How do you approach this in your work?
Thank you so much. So if I talk about it in my advocacy, I emphasize the importance of intersectionality between disability movements, youth movements, and other movements. Often, these issues are seen as distinct, but they are deeply intertwined. I advocate for creating inclusive platforms and spaces where young people, especially those with disabilities, can voice their needs alongside their peers. And I believe by forming coalitions that unite various advocate groups, we can create a stronger, more inclusive movement. This collaboration can lead to different comprehensive strategies that can address both the youth advocacy and the disability rights, ensuring that no one is left behind, and that we are all working towards a common goal of equity and justice. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Susan. I think that's very powerful. And Glee, just coming to you, I'm seeing our time running out. So in just a minute or 1.5, how can global health systems learn from the innovation that abortion activists and providers have built out of necessity?
I think in order to learn from these innovations, first of all, we cannot see them as harm reduction, as like a last resort when everything else has failed. Like, yes, these innovations were born out of necessity, but they are so much more. Like, when we look at online abortion care, any of these other innovations, it's not just about necessity. It's showing us a better way of doing things. It's a better way of responding to needs of privacy, confidentiality, convenience, and like at Women on Web, self-managed abortion, it's not a fallback. It's a valid option in all settings. And I think secondly, it's really important to recognize where these innovations are coming from. They're grounded in the lived experiences of abortion activists and abortion seekers, people who've been providing care much longer than institutions and guidelines have recognized it. So I do think there's a lot to learn from these innovations, but we need to be ready to learn and listen non-medical people too. Be open to actually expanding the definition of an abortion provider. It's not just doctors, it's activists, it's networks, groups, and ultimately it's the abortion seeker themselves.
Thank you very much, Glee. Thank you very much. All right. I think that brings us to the end of this panel, but before I go, I just want each one of you to tell me one thing that gives you hope today. And because I'm looking at you, I'm going to start with you, Glee. What is one thing that gives you hope? One. Quickly, the clock is ticking.
Ok, mira, algo que mantiene mi esperanza es las juventudes. Eso, que las juventudes puedan crecer en espacios seguros y que sé que están interesados y hoy están aquí, allá está mi hola joven que está apoyándome y que también está luchando por estos derechos y para que las próximas generaciones no tengan que pasar por lo que pasamos nosotros.
Youth, young people, Susan, one thing that gives you a lot of hope right now.
I find hope in the growing number of young advocates stepping up for disability rights. Their energy and passion are challenging all these stereotypes and creating a more inclusive future for everyone.
Thank you very much. Veni, one thing that gives you hope.
It's the fearless, bold, creative activists that are providing abortion care regardless of law, regardless of restrictions.
Thank you very much. Cromwell.
Well, my answer was young people, but I'll change it. In the threat of AI in work and creativity, what gives me hope is the young artists.
Thank you very much. Young people, fearlessness, young people. Good people, thank you so much for being part of this panel. And for our wonderful panelists, thank you for reminding us that equity is not a concept, it's an action. Please join me in thanking Cromwell, Glee, Susan, and Veni. A round of applause for them. Thank you so much.
Somebody going to introduce me? Oh, I introduce myself.
Mercy, introduce you.
Okay.
Thank you so much. All right, thank you so much. And I know my mic is off, but I'm always loud enough. So we have one closing remark to make. And this will be made by Gabriela Rodriguez, the Technical Secretary of CONAPO in Mexico. Thank you so much, ma'am, for being with us today.
Muy buenos días a todas y a todos. Es un gusto muy grande estar aquí en esta importantísima sesión. Es un honor hablar aquí a nombre del Gobierno de México junto a... ¡Viva México! Junto a países que comparten una convicción profunda con los derechos sexuales y reproductivos, que no son un privilegio, sino un derecho. Y una prioridad de nuestro Estado que tiene que convertirse en inversión. Desde México reafirmamos nuestra voluntad de avanzar hacia un país en el que todas las personas, pero con prioridad en las personas más pobres, puedan ejercer todos sus derechos de manera plena, placentera, libre e informada. Estamos dando pasos firmes gracias a nuestro compromiso con la FP2030, con plena convicción de que esta alianza global representa una oportunidad para fortalecer las políticas públicas, compartir aprendizajes y acelerar la transformación que nuestra región necesita. Nuestra visión hacia el 2030 es clara: reducir las brechas, garantizar el acceso universal a servicios de calidad y asegurar que nadie quede atrás. México está impulsando acciones concretas para reducir la maternidad de adolescentes y de las niñas, garantizar acceso a anticonceptivos y a servicios de aborto seguro, promover la corresponsabilidad de los hombres en la planificación familiar y fortalecer los marcos normativos para asegurar una atención digna, equitativa y con pertinencia cultural. Este compromiso es expresión de la voluntad política del Gobierno de México, porque la salud repito, y los derechos no son privilegios, son derechos humanos. México está listo para seguir trabajando con FP2030 y con cada país que aquí está representado para construir juntos una agenda de salud y derechos que inspire, transforme y garantice igualdad de oportunidades para todos. Porque, por el bien de todos, primero las personas más pobres. Gracias.
Great. Thank you very much, Mexico, and thank you all so much for joining us today. I hope you leave filled with so much energy in your advocacy